In the house, it is Austin Golding Barge Line. Good morning, sir. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Paul. Good to see you, too.
Happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday.
Hey, the last time we talked, we were walking on the river, not rolling on the river. I mean, it was so dry out there, and things have changed. Thank goodness. As a matter of fact, I think we were talking to Hank Burdine a little bit earlier this week. He didn't think we were going to get that low again, but who knows? What's the forecast?
Well, I agree with Hank, and Hank's a dear friend of mine and my family, and he knows what he's talking about. He's a big river guy. So, but I agree. We just got a great, storm system that came through this week that gave us some reprieve, I think, through the month of August. So. September, still, I think we're still at risk to get into some low water situations in September, but it looks like August is going to be in good shape.
As a matter of fact, I was looking at the weather, and I'm not sure, but if people out there haven't seen this and you're looking for any hope at all for just a little bit of a break in this one, the temperature is still going to be pretty warm, hot, above 95 all the way up to maybe 100. I think we got one day in the forecast for central Mississippi about 88. And that must be some pretty good rain coming through. But we do at least have a chance of rain starting a little bit tomorrow and certainly by late Sunday and Monday, at least a bit of an increase in some afternoon thunder showers. So we'll take some clouds, man. Just give us some clouds.
Well, I as working on the river as hard as it is, it makes it even harder when it's 100 degrees outside. So
I was going to say this is for all people who are working outside.
Yeah.
And then when you start talking about there's a lot of hard stuff. We talk about hard drive. This is a hard drive when you start talking about with barrels and steel and that sun. You don't have a lot of trees on the river.
No,
so it's got to be tough.
It is, and it takes a lot of I think really intense management to make sure people know to take breaks and to stay hydrated, and it's okay to take your time this time of year. It's a lot easier to manage a job done slower than normal than a health and safety incident. So we're so safety focused now that we message on it almost every day.
Yeah. I did want to ask you this, though, because you know more than the average person about what the changes have been for the last couple of 3 years as far as your business up and down the river. I noticed that the oil spigots are not going to be turned on by OPEC. They said they're going to keep that cut. I think it's 1 million barrels more per day. They keep that cut in place, which means if you're looking for any lower prices on gasoline, it's just not going to happen for a while. How does this affect your business?
Well, volatility is really where we find a lot of our business comes from. If it has to be put into inventory really quickly or taking out inventory really quickly because of a price move, barges kind of save the day. Always, I think if oil prices are a little higher, there's a little more trade volatility going on, and people are looking to export some more of that product than they normally do. But we're busy whether the oil price is low or high. If it's moving one way or the other, we're probably having more demand pushed our way just because we're more readily available and easier to create a supply chain through a barge line than it is to build a pipeline or to find rail access or to get together hundreds of trucks. So we kind of save the day in a pinch and then become part of the supply chain whenever longer and more established trade routes are established.
Anybody putting pressure on you guys to go to EVs?
Yeah, I mean, I just filled out.
Seriously, I was just serious. Joking. Are you serious?
No, I'm serious. Oh yeah, I had a major oil company. A major oil company asked me for an electric towboat the other day to push their 100,000 barrels of gasoline around. Yeah. And look, if they're willing to pay for it, I'm willing to do it. But I can tell that a lot of it is ES&G motivated, and they're trying to get a higher score on their corporate score. And even if we don't do the project, if they just say we explored it, they get a check box. So
just go through the motions. Make people happy in Washington, D.C. Make the green people happy.
It's impossible to do on the scale we do now. I do think you'll see some hybrid technology come into effect in our ports and some of our harbors. Which may be a better mousetrap. That's where my head is. If it gives me a competitive advantage, I'm open to it. If we're just doing it for
I
feel
think
good, that's one thing.
I know everybody out there who has a disagreement with the administration. I don't think anybody has a disagreement with if the marketplace can prove this.
No doubt.
And it's proven in the marketplace, go for it. But let the marketplace do it. Don't have government sanctions on these things. We've already experienced, now where We're 4 days into the light bulb shortage.
Well, and I can tell you, Paul, just from our towboat technology, you can't compete with me with a 30-year-old towboat. You burn too much fuel. You're too inefficient. We have become more efficient even within the model that we have now that does burn diesel fuel. The old technology is obsolete. So people think a diesel engine is a diesel engine, that they're making the rules, but it's not. I mean, we have really perfected this technology now.
Well, here's a question. How many times if you own a Prius, how many times do you have to charge it?
I have no idea. I'm not the guy to ask that question.
Well, I mean, and all of a sudden in the last 3 or 4 weeks, some of the automotive people are brave enough to step up and say maybe the hybrid technology is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Oh, I see what you're saying with the hybrid piece. Yeah, I mean, I think there is a bridge there. I mean, it's not a light switch. It's not one or the other. I think that some of those options, and even in our towboat, I would love to have a electric piece that gives me a backup in case I have an engine failure. I could have a generator running off the back of our gearbox that could get me to a safe spot if I have an engine failure. That's a great application.
I could see where that would work, specifically going downstream.
Oh, and look, we've seen some people explore solar panels on the back of the boats, and anything that allows you to get a little more of efficient operation, we're going to explore. So some of this technology does give us those options, but main propulsion, the energy density of diesel, hard to beat.
Yeah, when you need to go up and fight that current, it's AV is not going to last that long.
We're already a green option, right? I mean, we're the option instead of a lot of other more, I guess, environmentally punitive modes of transportation.
Austin Golding is my guest. Austin, where do you guys figure into as far as the Yazoo pumps controversy?
Well, we don't operate on the Yazoo River, but I can tell you as a Vicksburg resident, I'm all for it. I think I've listened to enough people in the community, and I think it's a good idea. I mean, that part of the country needs to be as economically viable as possible, and I think that helps that kind of trends that way. So I'm all about it.
That whole generation of people like Hank Burdine they're fading fast. I mean, these storytellers and people like that. And I think your mother did a book with him, didn't he?
Well,
didn't she?
He wrote the foreword to her book, and I think she's collaborated with him on some of his stuff too. But we're family friends, and I think she was honored to have him write the foreword of her book. And
I've read her book is great.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
We're great.
You're talking about some great stories from some of the people on the boats over the years. It's just, if you haven't read it, what's the name of the book?
Life Between the Levees, and it's on Amazon.
That's exactly right. Life Between the Levees. And if you haven't read that, and you're a guy or a lady who likes the stories of Mississippi and the river,
no doubt,
that is a must. Any new ones that they're coming out with you know of?
Well, no, we're working. I got to keep her next project under wraps. She's put the gag order on me, but she did the hog hunting book about the Mississippi Delta, and she also did the book on Katrina. So, I mean, look, we're Mississippi through and through, and I think that capturing the culture we have here is something that's we need to do, and we need to make sure that people understand how rich this culture we live within is.
Austin, is the traffic on the river back to after the dry spell? Is the river back normal?
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as capacity.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think we're seeing some. There's a big closure on the Illinois River right now for maintenance. We're seeing some on the Gulf Coast. So we're seeing more barges and more boats right now than we usually do.
Did anything change after that? Did we learn a lesson, or anything happen after that now that we didn't before?
Well, I think the Corps, first off, I'll say this, did a great job, and they continue to do a great job. And what we're learning now is the job they did under last low water is probably so good that we're benefiting from it this time around. I think we identified a need for more dredging and where that dredging needs to be located. People think the whole river was shallow. It's really just a few spots, and our ports and harbors don't get really the attention they need if they're not self-scouring, if they don't have current running through them. So I think we identified more trouble spots, and I think we did some more long-term work instead of just patch jobs this last low water.
Absolutely. I always love asking you this, and we'll talk about when we come back, as far as the opportunities on the towboats. I know you guys are going full speed, and sometimes finding good people who will last quite a while, and it's very, very profitable. We'll talk about that when we come back with Austin Golding of Golding Barge Lines. That is coming up next. Okay, let's get back to the one and only Austin Golding. Austin, what else, as far as job opportunities, this is summertime. Is it better, worse, or where do we stand now?
Well, it's always a good time to try to get into our industry. We're hungry for applicants. I always like to call this probably our probably most productive recruiting time, because people are going back to school. They've probably spent a little too much money on the summer vacation, and starting to cool off a little bit. Being out on the river is starting to become a little more appealing than it was in June. So, we have a lot of people coming in the door now, and there's a lot of opportunity there. We're growing. There's a lot of turnover that we have to answer to. And the leading cause of our turnover, and you can ask any ex-tow boater for sure, is generally being away from home for 28 days. We've worked a lot to try to improve life on the boat and to try to improve communication and to address that in a lot of different ways. But it is what it is. And some people really like that lifestyle. And some people grow to like that kind of lifestyle. But it can be a great option for people that don't have a lot going on around their hometown.
Here's what I would suggest, that if you're one of those people, there's a great show that I love watching called Alone. Is it on the A&E, where they take 10 people and they move them out in the middle of nowhere in Saskatchewan or someplace British Columbia, and they see how long they can survive off the grid. And there are a lot of people who love that show. The show's gotten some tremendous ratings. I think it's like 4 or 5 seasons deep now. Or people who are going off the grid in Alaska. So but that's the number one thing that does them in, is being alone. After a while, the silence is deafening.
Yeah.
And so my suggestion is, if you think you can handle that, first of all, just get a little bit of a free education and be paid for it. Or you just call Austin and see if you can do it for 28 days.
Well, and I'll tell you the best part of what we got going. You are with a group. We are with a small team, but if you are a really hard worker within that small team, you will get promoted. So we're a better option than some places that, if you're worried about not getting recognized or not moving up, we're not. You come over here, we'll solve that problem for you.
What's the medium age of the people who work on the barge?
Well, deckhands, I would say it's definitely in your 20s. It's an entry-level position. Tankermen, usually late 20s to early 40s.
Wait a minute, back up. How much were we talking about being paid starting off?
So now our entry wage is $150 a day, which lasts about 2 weeks. Because if you make it on the boat, your first hitch, as we call it, 28 days, you're going to get a promotion. So usually our average middle line deckhand wage is between $180 and $200 a day. If you get promoted to tankerman, which usually takes about a year to get there, that wage is about $70,000 to $85,000 a year, and that person is responsible for loading and unloading the barges. At that point, you start training to become a wheelman, and you get into where you're actually driving the boats. That can take anywhere from 4 to 7 years, depending on your progression, and that is entry level $135,000 up to $180,000. And we got some guys that exactly got kind of put a bow on this, Paul, that like to live the life that you were describing as alone, and they like that. They'll ride, 300 days a year and make close to $200,000 or more. So it's definitely not for everybody, but it's definitely for a lot of people.
Those are the guys who have reached the stay off my lawn part of their life. I had another question there. I was going to ask you about that one, but you have some people stay with you all the way through and retire then.
Hopefully, that's the game plan. I mean, we definitely have some lifers, and there's people there that come to me with concerns about our company, like they own it just like I do, and I love that. It's home for them.
Yeah. When you start talking about $65,000, $75,000 just on the low end and up from there, you got to really start computing what are your expenses over that 28-day period.
Well, as a crew member, it's nothing.
Well, I was going to say, you have to figure that in too.
Oh, exactly.
If you're making $65,000 a year working next door at fast food or I don't care any kind of business, you've got an expense.
Sure. And
so your net from that is pretty darn impressive.
It's really good, and people usually find, if they start a family, they find a spouse that's pretty independent and probably has a career on their own. So a lot of my wheelmen, and most of my wheelmen, are dual income households that usually own a side business that their spouse runs back home. So they're really doing you consider the type of household income that produces, it could be $250,000 a year.
If somebody wants to look more into this, I'm sure on the employment part of the website, it's all there.
Yeah, goldingbarge.com, and you can find our employment portal there. And you can also call our office or come to our office in Vicksburg at 101 Lee Street, and we're happy to walk you through the process.
And by the way, is medical part of that too?
Oh yeah, you get full medical benefit, 401k match, some really good benefits there.
Good, because I'm not sure your safety factor is pretty good. I mean, you've taken all different types of precaution. I know that you've got to wear the life jackets.
Sure.
Falling into the river behind a barge is not what you want to do.
No, and that's our number one fear. We have a saying that we've kind of adopted, that we're not in the business to hurt people or put product in the environment. What we have in the barge, we want to keep on the barge, and we're going to send people home the same way they came to the boat. It's as safe as industry as it's ever been. It is not my dad's towboat industry. It's not even the type of industry when I got in the business. Our customers accept the fact that we can slow down and have stop work authority. We call it stop work obligation. Take your time and prioritize our health and environmental safety, and everything else will pay the bills.
This is not as luxurious as which cruise line do you want to be on. I understand that. But still, we're talking more than just going from Natchez to Memphis. I mean, do you select that, or how does that work out?
Well, we have employees from 11 states, and we transit 14 states. So we go all the way to Brownsville, Texas, which is right on the border. We're part of the export play into Mexico. We go over to Panama City. So if you've gone to the Buc-ee's in Orange Beach or gotten any gas in Rosemary, we've probably taken it there. We go up into the Ohio Valley. We go into Chicago. We go into Arkansas.
Can you choose those areas, or?
Well, if you're a model employee, I'll let you have a little input. But when you first get out there with me, I'm going to put you where my need is the most. And geographically, it makes sense to send people to the boat that's closest to their home.
So that's a very good point. I didn't think about that one.
Right.
Is all the hiring done through Vicksburg, or is it different offices?
All done through Vicksburg, and we love to have you come to Vicksburg and meet us, and we kind of walk you through in-person orientation, and then we go through a deckhand school that Hines Community College has set up there that kind of grabs from all the towboat companies. Yeah.
So you'll be fully trained by the time you hit the deck.
Well, you'll be trained enough not to get in a bind. I don't know about fully trained.
Not to hurt anybody or yourself.
Yeah, it's an introductory course, but it's better than nothing.
I don't even know if I need to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. All guys, or what happens there?
We're actively trying to become a more diverse work base, not to check in the S&G box, but just because I think it gives us a broader recruiting base. We'd love to have more female applicants. Our management is full of females. My CFO is a female. So on board, it's just such a physical job. But look, if there's any females out there listening, or if you listen and you know one you think that's up for the task, we'd love to have them out there.
Yeah, anybody there who's tired of the cold weather on Deadly Catch, just
I've sent
Austin a go.
Look, I've sent some good old boys from and people from Philadelphia and Yazoo City up to Chicago, and they've been frozen in on Lake Peoria up there.
Jeez.
And they don't bring enough camouflage hunting clothes to stay warm, so we have to supply a lot of that wintertime PPE. That makes for a really good towboat story, though, whenever you get frozen in on the river. So
I bet it does.
That's some bragging rights.
It does. You want to mention the website one more time here, sir?
Goldingbarge.com, goldingbarge.com, and you'll see a lot of our portals and links there and information about the company. But we'd love to have you come apply. And your listenership is, hopefully we work through reference, and y'all can send some folks that may not know about us, or you may think, man, that's a really good option for that person.
There you go.
Send them our way.
Golding, by the way, is Golding.
ING, yes, sir.
Man, have a great weekend, and thank you for coming by. It's always interesting, and I enjoy having you on.
Hey, thank you for shining a light on us. We love our spot here and love your show.